ॐ ज्ञानं तिमिरान्धस्य
ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया
ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया
चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपां सागरजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिककान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So as far as I remember, the last time we did the first part of chapter 14.
15.
15. The first part of 15. Okay. Thank you.
Purushottam Yoga.
Oh, yes, we are on Purushottam Yoga. Okay. And we talked about the reflection and the banyan tree.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. So the reality is in the spiritual world. The material world is a reflection, as you can see here. This is the real spiritual world with the real spiritual exchanges. And in this life, this is what it becomes. And it becomes the perverted opposite reflection uh, of the spiritual world. Another image showing the reflection of the banyan tree. And then I think we talked about this last time about Urdhva Moolam, which is, Prabhupada says, just like if you have to keep yourself, your legs are up and your head is down, how long you will feel comfortable. If somebody takes your legs and catches you, your head down, then it is not very comfortable. So this whole material world is like that. Urdhva Moolam. The Moolam should have been down, but it is up. Therefore, it is uncomfortable. And then did we cover this last time?
No, Prabhuji. Only till the Urdhva Moolam part.
That was the last thing we covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did we talk about detachment as a way to
Yeah.
get out of this? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. And did we go over this verse?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. We'll start from here. Nirvana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama Dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sangyay Gachantyamudha padamavyayam tat. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So this is the acts of detachment that Krishna is speaking about. Free from false prestige, illusion, and association. This is true detachment. Who understand the eternal, they're attached to the eternal, not the temporary, who are done with material lust. And material lust here means all forms of lust. When it's done with hankering for anything material, for any material thing. Just yesterday, we were hearing in a class by His Holiness Hanuman Bishop Maharaj, who's saying how material pleasures are temporary. However, Krishna gives us an unlimited stream of temporary material pleasures. So we're done with one, then we want the next one, right? Just like in childhood, the lust is for cookies, right? We want sugar and cookies and games and playthings, and then we grow out of it, and we're done with that. Like, wow, okay, I don't have any of that attraction anymore. But then the attraction for women or men come as we become a young person. And then we grow out of that. We think, oh, lust is now not affecting me so much. But then we become attracted to making money and becoming very rich. And then our children, we become attached to them. So it's one lust after another until the point of death. The old man is attached to their grandchildren, his name, his estate, his legacy. And in that same entanglement, we leave our body and we still continue in this material world. So it's just that one thing, but that one thing keeps us bound because it's that one thing in the stream of material things that Krishna gives that keeps us bound life after life. So a person who can get out is who's done with material lust. That now I'm not going into the next phase. I want only Krishna, and I want everything only for Krishna. I want to offer everything only to Krishna. Who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, who are not interested in solving distresses of this world, and who, unbewildered, also know the path out. They know how to surrender to the Supreme Person and attain that eternal kingdom. Right? So that's the acts of detachment. So this is the surrendering process. Give up pride of importance. Then give up false proprietorship. Then give up false identification with family, society, and nation. Very from gross to subtle. Then get spiritual knowledge. Then get freedom from duality. Then get full knowledge. Then surrender to Krishna is possible. False prestige. Right? So false prestige has two aspects to it. One is false sense of I, and false sense of mind. So that's the I and mind. Then giving up false identification with family, society, and nation. I belong to this family. I belong to this nation. We have special relationships with our families, members, because these are the relationships Krishna has given us. But we don't think of them in terms of I belong to them or they belong to me. Then we get spiritual knowledge, freedom from duality, happiness and distress, like the previous verse was talking about. That okay, I'm stuck in this and that. Then get full knowledge. Then surrender to Krishna is possible. Bhagavad Gita 15:6. Tad bhasayate suryo na shashanka na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So, what is that knowledge? That knowledge is that Krishna's abode is self-luminous. In this world, we need a light to see things. There, the spiritual objects themselves have illumination. So there's no need for fire or electricity, Prabhupada writes. And here Krishna is assuring us, those who reach it never return to this material world. And I think last time we discussed this, that I asked the question, why is it that if we are in that world, how is it that we don't fall again when, according to our philosophy, we have left that world and come to this material world? And then we discussed it, and different people gave different answers. And the conclusion that we came to is that the reason why Krishna is saying that once we return to the spiritual world, we never come back to this material world is because after the experience of the material world, we will never come back here. So after the experience of the material world, once we have returned to the spiritual world, we will not come back here because the material world is perfect for its purpose. It is perfectly expert in teaching us such a good lesson that we will never come back to the prison again. We'll never want to come back again. That's the purpose of a prison, that we'll never do the wrong things again. But because material prisons are imperfect, people keep coming back into prison. But Krishna's prison, this material world, is perfect. Though it's imperfect, it's perfect for its purpose. Though it has so many imperfections in it, it's perfect for its purpose. And that perfection is that it perfectly teaches us what we need to learn. And when we initially come to this material world, we don't have that experience. But once we're out, we will only get out once we are fully trained, or so to say, we have learned, soul has experienced that material life is not worth it, and only Krishna is our Lord and Master. Only the spiritual world is the place of spiritual pleasure. There's no pleasure in this material world. So the nature of the spiritual world is no sun, no moon, no electricity or fire is needed. Though there is a sun, moon, fire, probably electricity, but they're not needed. Why should you pay the electric bill? Prabhupada says. What is this foolishness? Why should you pay the electric bill? Go there and live there. There is no need of the natad bhasyate. It is, the spiritual world is not lightened by the sun, moon, because everyone is effulgent. Every planet is effulgent. So therefore, there's no need of these things. There is no ignorance. There is no scarcity. There is no miserable condition. One should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. Um, um, so amazing, huh? Prabhupada, here we have to work so hard. We have to work so hard to pay the bill. We have to work so hard to pay the bills. Electricity is getting so expensive now. You know, all the utilities, you know, $1,000 a month can go in just paying the utilities. Uh, and for that, we are working so hard. And Prabhupada is saying, why are we working for this? Why are we not working to get out of this material world? So do we and go to the spiritual world so we never have to pay the electricity bill? What is it? Why should we worry about this? Every planet is effulgent. Every person is effulgent. Why should we pay the electricity bill? After this description, Krishna describes the fate of one who can not surrender unto him. Such a person must remain on the banyan tree of material existence, jumping from branch to branch in pursuit of sense gratification. This process of jumping from branch to branch is called transmigration. So Krishna is such a good teacher. He's such a thorough teacher. He tells us the fate of one who surrenders to him. They go back to the spiritual world. They never return to this material world. They go back to a place where there's no suffering, no electricity bill. Everything is self-luminous. But now, as a wonderful teacher, he tells us the consequences of not doing it. Well, what is the alternative? What happens if we stay in this world like we have for millions of lifetimes, jumping from tree to tree, from plant to plant, from animal to animal, from one life to another life, as we have been doing? So, what determines our next life? There are two factors that determine our next life. Anyone want to suggest one of them?
Our desire.
Very good. What we desire determines our next life. Very good.
Our actions, our karma.
Our actions, yes. So we covered both of them. Perfect. First two answers. What we desire and what we deserve. These two things determine our next life. What we deserve limits or modifies what we desire. Just like at the end of our life, we may have the desire, like Om said, or the desire to fly in the sky. We're flying, we want to fly. And because our entire life we have been a skydiver and we like to fly, and we think, you know, there's so much headache with all of this gear, and sometimes it malfunctions and these skydivers drop from the sky and fall on the earth and die. So wouldn't it be so nice if I had a, you know, body in which I could naturally fly? And so our concept is that we will become some angel and we'll be flying around like an angelic being. However, we have not been a good person, right? We have robbed a few banks, punched a few people, you know, not been a good person. So instead of being an angel and being a flying angel, Krishna fulfills the desire that we have, our final desire is to fly. But rather than being an angel, we come back as a pigeon. We are also flying. We're also in that, you know, have that capacity, but we are not flying in style, right? We're just flying like a pigeon flies. We're not living in such a stylish thing. So what we deserve limits what we desire. But these two things are what determine our next life. Primarily the desire, right? Is the desire that takes the soul to a different body. And what we get in that life is limited or enhanced by what we deserve. So maybe we are meant to become a flying person, but we think, oh, I'll come back as a bird. But we've been a very good person, so Krishna makes us an angel. That can happen in the other direction as well. So, based on our desires, the desires we cultivate in this life, and based on what we deserve, Krishna's made 8,400,000 species of life. And we were just reading yesterday in the Bhagavatam how each one of these species represents a combination of the gunas. And a certain combination of the gunas are developed by a certain combination of desires. So each species represents a particular desire. Just like if we like to eat anything and everything, Krishna says we come back as a tiger. It can eat it fresh and raw. It can eat the blood and meat of a person fresh and raw. No need to cook it. No worry about E. coli infections. You can just eat the meat and have a good day, right? If we have the desire to to be envious and jealous of others, we can come back as a snake. If we have the desire to be a beach bum, as they say, we just lie on the hot beach for days and days, doing nothing, just for the pleasure of the body, then we can come back as an alligator. In Florida, the alligators are very famous. Those of you from Florida know this. They just sit for hours and wait for their prey, roasting their bodies in the hot sun, and then going in the water and sitting in the water for hours and hours. Right? So each one of these bodies, like the birds, right, the desire to fly, represents a particular desire. There are 8,400,000 species of life. However, human life is the only species in which one can gain good or bad karma. In all of these other species, one is burning off one's past karma, one is burning off desires, and then one works one's way automatically back to the human form. And it is only in the human form then one can change one's destiny. Under normal circumstances, sometimes by Krishna's mercy, we can change it otherwise. But when we have the desire to sleep, we may come back as a polar bear. If we have the desire to all these things, we're burning off those desires. But to change those desires, to change the desire, we must come as a human being. And in the human form of life, there are three types of karma. I think we may have discussed this in a previous class. Somehow it seems a little, I mean, of course, I've many times, but to you also in this class, it may seem a little familiar, but it's very good review if we have. There's three types of karma. There's kriyaman karma. The karma a person produces and reaps in their daily lives. It is the most immediate form of karma. So if I slap someone, they may slap me back. That is immediate karma. Prarabdha karma, this is karma whose effects have already begun. It takes longer to manifest, but occurs at some point in one's present lifetime. So if we have some karma, we are smoking, and we think, it is so nice to smoke. What a thrill. But then after 30 years of smoking, a person gets lung cancer. So that is karma that we are suffering or enjoying at a later point in our life. And finally, we have sanchita karma. This is the accumulation of all past karma, and the results of this usually occur in a future lifetime. This is karma that's very difficult to change. But this is like Lalita Pran Mataji said, our karma that determines our next life, what we deserve. That is difficult to change because we already are taking birth in that form. But if we have the human form of life, we can change our future, our destiny. And we can break out of this cycle and go back to the spiritual world. But if we have certain karma that inhibits us for doing that, we may need to wait a lifetime before getting the chance to actually practice spiritual life. Just like even in this world, we see that some people are born, very disabled. They cannot, think clearly, rationally. They cannot read or write. They cannot really develop themselves spiritually. So that may be sanchita karma. But then after this lifetime, they will, in the next lifetime, get the full opportunity to pursue spiritual life. Of course, by the mercy of the devotee, anyone can gain liberation in any lifetime and in any form, even in a plant species, even in an animal species. But that is more rare, right? And generally speaking, one comes back to a human form of life. So which body next? Our particular body is formed around our mind's desires, aspirations, and goals in life. So we are actually developing our spiritual life now. We just had some background noise there. Okay. So here we can see this is how our desires, aspirations are forming our next life. Right? So why is this significant? Because we should know that presently, right now, we are forming our next life. Right now, at this time, I am forming my next life. The present consciousness is actually developing my next life. So we don't have any really control over this material world. We don't have really any control over how things go, but we have some control over the present. And so if we take our life in the spiritual direction, then our future will be spiritual. If we take our life in the material direction, then our direction is spiritual. So what is the point? The goal of reincarnation is to stop reincarnating. The point of all of this is not to keep fulfilling our desires, but the process, and this goes now back to the point that we started with, the process of this material world is such that through the experience of this world, through the school of hard knocks, we will eventually be able to give up our material desires, right? By the experiencing the leaves of the fruits and the leaves of this world, of this banyan tree, right? Our mind becomes trained, and we don't want to keep suffering and enjoying in this material life. How does one stop the cycle? Krishna's position as the maintainer, by realizing that Krishna is the maintainer and the source and cause of everything. So in this previous slide, what I have, which I skipped, is that different traditions, different philosophies describe different processes by which we can break this cycle. Some people say by purification we can break this cycle. But no, even if we purify ourselves, we cannot break this cycle, because even good acts, even pious acts, bring a pious result. By detachment, we can give up this cycle. No, because Krishna says in the Gita that it is not possible to do anything, to not do anything even for a moment. So one cannot become fully detached. One will act, and that action will bring a reaction. And finally, however, these two things are good. They take us towards that goal, right? These two things, they take us towards that goal of freedom from the cycle. But ultimately, what breaks the cycle is devotional action, acting for Krishna, acting for Krishna, devotional action. That is bhakti yoga. So this is the way that Krishna is describing we can actually break this cycle of birth and death. Understanding that our life is meant to serve Krishna, acting for Krishna, then there's no reaction. One who is entangled within the banyan tree of material existence can develop his Krishna consciousness by appreciating Krishna as the maintainer of the phenomenal world. So now Krishna is telling us the way out, how to break this cycle of birth and death, how to break out of the bonds of the banyan tree of material life. By observing and analyzing that Krishna is the maintainer of this banyan tree. Srila Prabhupada explains that one should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness, lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned souls in this material world. Just Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada makes it so simple. It's just so simple. But the problem is, it takes time for us to develop that simple realization. Text 12. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. This is what Prabhupada was just saying. We were saying, right, that Krishna is telling us, so we can meditate on this. The splendor of the sun, of the moon, and fire come from Krishna. So that is Krishna. This is why we also worship the sun, but not as a sun god, but as Krishna. Krishna is coming as a sun, because Krishna in the Gita says, I am the splendor of the sun. I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of foodstuffs. So Krishna here is saying that he is the fire of digestion. Even the taste in the fruits and vegetables is given to us by Krishna in the form of the moon, right? In the form of the moon, Krishna supplies the taste of the vegetables. How Krishna is the taste and essence of everything. Whatever we like in this world, we should remember that it is Krishna. If we like the taste of mangoes, we should remember that it is Krishna. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha Vedaishya sarvair ahameva vedyo Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. By all the Vedas, Vedaishya sarvair ahameva vedyo. I mean, what can be more direct than this? The Vedas are the ultimate authority for all traditions, even including the Mayavadis. And Krishna is saying, the goal of the Vedas is me. I am to be known. The object of the knowledge of the Vedas is not impersonal Brahman, this, that. He's saying it's me. I am to be known. And still there's doubt. He says, I am not just to be known by the Vedas, but I am the knower of the Vedas. I am the one who wrote down the Vedas. And he says, whatever remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness we have is coming from Krishna alone. And now here, as we had mentioned initially, is the Three Shloki Gita, text 16, 17, and 18. This is again why chapter 15 is so special, because the whole Gita is in chapter 15, though it's the shortest chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It's only 20 verses, and the whole Gita is there in 3 verses in this chapter. There are 2 classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. So at some point, every living entity will make some mistake. So we should not be surprised, right? Because everyone by nature is fallible. Even the great devotees sometimes make mistakes. We should not be surprised. Maharaj Yudhishthira made a mistake in a gambling match. He's an eternal associate of Krishna. But Krishna never made a mistake. When Krishna appears in this world, he never makes a mistake, because this is the fundamental nature of Krishna and the difference between Krishna and us, that we are fallible and Krishna's infallible. However, when we are in the spiritual world, the soul gets the nature of Krishna. So they don't become Krishna, but they acquire that same nature in Krishna. And therefore it's being said, in the material world, every living entity is fallible. In the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. So our pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, they were infallible because they're living in the spiritual world. Though they were present in the material world, their consciousness and life was directly in the spiritual world. So that's why the pure devotee of the Lord, because they're living in the spiritual world continuously, they are infallible. Oh. Then text 17. Besides these 2, there is the greatest personality, the supreme soul, the imperishable, the Lord himself, who has entered the 3 worlds and is maintaining them. So all of Vedanta talks about 3 things: Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat. So in the previous verse, Krishna talked about the living beings and the 2 types of living beings, the fallible and the infallible. In this verse, Krishna talks about Ishvara, who is God. God is the greatest personality. God is imperishable. And it is Krishna who enters into every living being and enters into this material world. And by his power is maintaining them. Besides these 2, there is the greatest living entity, right? Krishna. And then text 18, Krishna says, because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. So then there's Sambandha, there's Abhideya, and there's Prayojan. So the Abhideya and also Prayojan are being described in this verse, that Krishna is the ultimate goal, and the means of attaining him is to glorify the Lord as the supreme person. In text 19 says, Yo mamivam vasammudho janati purushottamam sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as the supreme personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Son of Bharata. So here Krishna is then again further describing the process that if we know Krishna without doubt as a knower of everything, that is reading Bhagavad Gita, which we're doing now, that person gets fully inspired to perform devotional service. That knowledge, if we truly have that knowledge, will lead to action. And that action is devotional service, serving Krishna. That is the goal. And then the last verse of chapter 15. Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam maya naga etad buddhva buddhiman syad krita krityascha bharata. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. A very special verse. How many times Krishna said that this is the most confidential knowledge? Here Krishna is repeating it again to describe us that, oh, I should be so grateful that Krishna has given me this knowledge because this is the highest and best knowledge. I must read this. I must understand, appreciate this spiritual knowledge. Otherwise, I cannot get out of this cycle of birth and death. And Krishna is saying, whoever studies this conversation between Krishna and Arjuna becomes wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So sometimes in life we're doing so many things, but nothing is fructifying. By Krishna's blessings, if we get Krishna's blessings, then things can easily fructify. And this here, Prabhupada says, the word anaga, by which Arjuna is addressed, is significant. O sinless one, anaga. Here Arjuna is being described. Anaga means, O sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities. Then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. So we may not like certain people or certain activities in which these people are engaged in materialistic activities. And we may not like that because of the tendency to fall down and get entangled very easily. But here Krishna is saying that if we are surrendered to Krishna, if we're engaging in devotional service, then one has practically become free from all sinful reactions. One can, at that point, proceed to the abode of Krishna, to realizing who Krishna is, to fully becoming Krishna conscious. So that is the beauty, magic of pure devotional service. It is so pure and potent that once one engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. So Krishna says, Prabhupada says that in another place that this process of devotional service drags one back to the spiritual world. Even we don't want to go, but if we have engaged in it and we have taken shelter of a spiritual master and we're engaged in devotional services, the process itself will act and we'll go back to Krishna very soon. So we should engage in as much service as we can, because this is the effortless, easiest way of returning back to Krishna. Whenever devotional service exits the material wherever devotional service exits, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. So this is the beauty. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakamo dhariti tivrena bhakti yogena ajeta paramapavan. The Bhagavatam also says, even if we are full of material desires, or even if we have no material desires, by the practice of tivrena bhakti yogena, the intense and forceful and enthusiastic practice of devotional service, we can then very easily and nicely go back to Krishna's abode. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing, what is the most important thing, is one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. Right? Why weakness of the heart? Because it is due to the weakness of the heart that we become lazy and we are unable to perform the process of devotional service, such as rising early in the morning, chanting our rounds, reading Srila Prabhupada's books. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord to become lords, right? To lord it over, become so wealthy that we can be master. The second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possessions of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. So when we have weakness of heart, we're unable to perform sadhana bhakti carefully. We wake up in the morning and we're not able to chant our rounds in the morning. We are waking up in the morning and we are coming late for Mangal Arati, like I did this morning. So this is the weakness of the heart. When we're strong in heart, then nothing will stop us. And then that weakness in our devotional service leads us to attachment to material things and material life. We become overly attached to our family, our children, our society, our friendship and love. So ultimately, it is our tivrena bhakti yogena, the intensity of our practice of devotional life. That is the only thing that is stopping us from becoming Krishna conscious. Here, Prabhupada is clarifying. The most important thing one has to surmount is the weakness of heart. Because there's thousands of things that will convince us that devotional life is impractical, it is too much, it is fanatical, it is extreme, and people will keep telling us this. You have to be really, you have to be practical, you have to be moderate. Don't, be a light Krishna conscious devotee. Don't extend yourself so much. Don't tell your kids to chant. Let them enjoy life. And if you do it too much, then you're just going to get fried. That's if the heart is weak. But if the heart is strong, we can surmount this only if the heart is strong. Prabhupada is saying, only if we are strong in heart, determined, can we surmount the propensity to lord it over material nature and the propensity to become attached to matter. Right? Which devotee in the Bhagavatam attained the Lord without effort? Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest and he found Krishna through intense austerities. Prahlad Maharaj underwent so much tribulation, was so tolerant, and then Krishna came. Bharat Maharaj, he left his kingdom, went to the forest, and then in 3 lifetimes he attained the Lord. Right? Which devotee got a free pass? A few devotees we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita Lord Chaitanya embraces them and they get pure love for Krishna. But we don't know their past, their history. And also, Prabhupada says that one person may win the lottery. This does not mean that we think, oh, no need for me to work. Well, he won the lottery, so why do I need to work hard? Generally speaking, the people who become very wealthy are people who work very hard. So the same is true about spiritual life. The thing that is stopping us is a thing that we have not surmounted, which is the weakness of heart. We will all make mistakes. We are all attached. We all will face problems. We all will, become confused. But who will succeed? Those will succeed who, in spite of those things, overcome those challenges, are strong in heart, and determined to serve the Lord. Just like my own spiritual master, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he did so much, and at times people would laugh at him, like, I mean, this is like over, endeavor, this, that. And sometimes in such a situation when you're serving Krishna and things go really wrong, you may wonder, am I doing the right thing? Maybe not. But his transcendental quality was that the determination, there's no weakness of heart there. That the more the challenge, the more the Pandavas became determined to serve Krishna. The more the sickness, the more the disease, the more the devotee becomes determined to serve the Lord. That my relationship with the Lord, my service to the Lord will never waver. And so last sentence is here. The problems of material existence, Prabhupada here is saying so nicely, the problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of the heart. First 5 verses, he's saying, describe the process of freeing oneself from the weakness of the heart. How? He said nothing about it. By realizing that this world is just a reflection and reminding us of our eternal life. The rest of the chapter, from 6th verse to the end, discusses Purushottam Yoga, or the process. Once we've overcome the weakness of the heart, what is the process of attaining Purushottama, the supreme person, the ultimate person? Thank you very much. Perfect timing. It is 8 o'clock. Maybe today we'll just do 5 minutes of question and answer. Yashoda Vatsala Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandat Pranam. Thank you so much for taking us through. My question was with respect to 15.18 Prabhuji,
Yes.
where Krishna says, I am beyond the fallible and infallible, right? So besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself.
Yes.
Who has entered the 3 worlds.
Yes.
So Krishna is beyond infallible also, right?
Yes. Because there are 2 types of living entities, Krishna here is telling us. You have the imperfect living beings, those who are in this material world, and you have the perfect living beings, those who are in the spiritual world. So one may think that, Krishna is just like a perfected living being. Some people actually in India, like even my relatives, they preach this philosophy. They say, Lord Ram was someone who just had perfect mind-body control. He was basically a Siddha, and that's why he was Ram. He was kind of like some Muni who became really, really perfected and then became Lord Ram. Or Krishna is, the most perfect being, but he's a human being. So Krishna here is clarifying that no, I am beyond. I'm of a different category. I'm not of this category. So he's distinguishing between Jivas and Ishvara.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Om.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Pranam Vishwapaji Gurudev. Very nice lecture as usual. I had a question regarding, like you said, you explained the two factors which our next life is determined by, and their desire and deserve. And you mentioned that only human form can incur karma. Any other form, like pigeon or horse or whatever, is just like it's a form where you're melting your karma, and it's a form of desire, is what you said. So if all those species of life, 8.4 million species of life that come before human, or whatever species come before human life, if all those are just melting karma, then why aren't we very pure when we come into human form?
Very nice question. After all of those lifetimes of experience, we still have material desires, and we come into the human form and we waste it and we go back into that cycle of material life. However, externally, it seems that way, but internally, the soul is learning. Right? The soul is learning on a subconscious level, maybe not on a conscious level, right? So, small example, so many times when you are walking, you've hit your pinky finger or your toe on the wall. Like, you've had that experience, ow, like it's just like you hit it there. It's like, ouch, right? And you hit it there, yet then 5 days later you hit it again. 3 months later you hit it again, right? However, it seems like you're not learning anything, right? But after hitting it 50 times, your body learns, okay, it gets automatic reflexes that no, I will not hit my toe there. If there's a wall there, it comes to the eye, there's okay, move 6 inches more in, right? This is like the process also of walking and all these things, how a child learns. They fall thousands of times and then finally then they stand up. So it's a very long process, but from Krishna's perspective, it's not very long. And we learn as we grow. But we can make it faster by our determination in this life as a human form of life. His Grace Ayendra Prabhu used to say, the process of spiritual life is gradual, and we can make it as gradual as we like. Right? So this is reverse speaking, he's saying. So it's gradual, but we can make it faster if we like. We don't have to make it gradual. Right? So intelligent soul recognizing this is determined, no, I will not go back into these material species again. And that's why Krishna says that verse, Neha vikrama nasho asti. Pratyavayu navedite. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. That just a little devotional service, it can save you from the greatest type of fear. What is that greatest type of fear? Falling again into the cycle of 8,400,000 species of life. And why does even a little devotional service save you? Because if you do even a little in your next life, at least you'll come back as a human being, right? You won't come back as an animal. So maybe we won't make it in this lifetime, but we should at least be determined enough that I want to come back as a human being. And our acharyas tell us, in order for that, we just need to give up one thing, and that is sinful activities. If we give up sinful activities, we're chanting Hare Krishna, eating Krishna Prasad, we're on our way up. We'll make progress really fast. Even if we're not perfect, even if we make mistakes. But if we commit sinful activities, then there's a chance we may fall into the lower species of life. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says in his song, he says, whatever you do, give up sinful life. Don't break these four regulated principles. We want to enjoy life, get married. We want to, eat nice things, eat Krishna Prasadam, not meat, not fish, not eggs. We want to, play games, but don't gamble. Just give up the sinful activities of life. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the
Thank
answer.
you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You are a very pure soul, so no worry about that. Yeah. Thank you. So, Janya Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Hope you're doing
Hare
good. Uh, so you mentioned about the desires and the karmas that we are incurring, right? So in
Hmm.
that desires, so is there any scope, is there any differences that the soul desires and the body desires? Do we have any conflict between the two desires?
Hmm. So desire is ultimately the function of the soul. That's actually the difference between something animate and inanimate. That will or desire actually comes from the soul. Like even the most complex computer has no desire. It may mimic desire, but it doesn't have a true desire. A table and chair does not have any desire. So desires come from the soul. However, they become conditioned and covered and uh, modified due to our contact with uh, material elements. So the desire, for example, for me to uh, go for a exercise, right? It may not directly be the desire of the soul. It's the desire of the body and the brain. It's creating that desire. But the soul, because it identifies with the body, the soul desires it. And therefore, because we are desiring it, we are responsible.
So exercising for the maintenance of your physical body here
Hmm.
could also be rooting from the soul.
Or it's rooting from the body, but because the soul is identifying with the body, it's making the body's desire its own, right? Just like again the idea of the computer, right? It's mimicking, right? So the body is, so to say, creating all these desires, just like a computer is creating all these questions and things. But then it's the person that is actually asking those
Mhm.
questions, right?
Mhm. Okay.
The person is identifying with the false desires that this body has created. Just like it's me, the person who's identifying with the false uh, desires, questions that the chatbot is creating. But it's not the chatbot that's actually desiring. It's a human that's desiring, and we create an artificially intelligent computer that 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 seems like, like the automatic vacuum cleaner of the house. It seems like that vacuum cleaner desires to clean the house because it goes from one place and it vacuums the house and it senses the walls. At a certain date, turns on, but it's not actually the vacuum cleaner's desire. It's my desire, which I programmed this machine, and it's fulfilling my desire by desiring so many things. And because I'm identifying with that machine, I'm thinking its desires are my desires. So same thing with the material body. Actually, it has no desire. The soul is desiring. But because the soul has chosen a particular body, that body's desires, it accepts it as its own.
Mhm.
Another example is in human relationships, right? Uh, Husband and wife. The wife's desires become the husband's desires, or the husband's desires become the wife's desires. It's not actually theirs, but because they have chosen to identify with that person, we make their desires our desires. But the person desiring is actually the soul.
Yeah. So yeah, I just had this question out of one confusion. So if the body is desiring something and our actions are directed towards fulfilling those desires, then we are
Yeah.
not actually fulfilling the soul's desire. Then the very purpose of the life is kind of waste, going waste, right? So
Yeah.
that is what I wanted to understand. So now, at least now, I think I understood that all the desires are going in one direction, rooting from the soul, correct?
Yeah, but the soul is also getting ideas or desires from the body.
Okay,
Yeah,
so what?
yeah.
It's
But the
exchange.
body, yeah, but the body is just a machine that's been programmed by material nature to create desires for us, right? So,
Mhm.
so if you have a bird's body, you're
Okay.
going to have the desire of finding worms
Mhm.
because material nature has programmed that. And because I, as a soul, am identifying with that bird, I am also going to think, I want worms, but actually I don't want worms.
Mm. Yeah, I just had one personal life example, if I'm not taking too much time.
Mm.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I know one person who she is very, very interested in getting her son married,
Mm.
right? So the moment it was almost the match is set, she met an accident and she's no more now. So I don't understood, like, is that this has actually created me a question, like, is the material desire different versus the soul that desires? Because exiting the body is the soul's desire, I believe, correct? It's its choice when to exit.
Mm.
So it just created a lot of
Well,
confusion for
well,
me. I don't know if
both,
I presented
well,
properly.
well, exactly. This relates very well with our class today. Two things, right? What we desire and what we deserve. So the desiring part is in our hand, and that's what is the driving factor. However, what we deserve limits what we desire. So some things we are choosing, but other things we are not, because those things are based upon karma. So she may not have wanted to die at that time, but that was written in her destiny. But her desires will determine what life she gets in her next life.
Yeah.
So if her desire was focused on marriage, maybe in her next life, she'll be born in a very nice family that has a business of wedding arrangements, and she can
No.
arrange weddings her whole life to fulfill that desire.
Oh, very beautiful explanation, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And also, if she was a devotee, Krishna may bring her in touch with devotees, and so other desires will also manifest, not just that one. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lalita Pran Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat
Hare
Pranam, all
Krishna.
glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Prabhu, my question is just about the distinction between Prarabdha Karma and Sanchit Karma. For me, those two were similar in a sense that, both say about we are facing because of what we have done in our past karma, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so what makes it distinct, Prabhu, from Sanchita Karma? How is it different from Prarabdha Karma? Because both will be suffering because of
Yeah.
our past activities.
Yes. So they're not really different. It's just a matter of degree. And this is kind of, further, deeper, subtle distinction that these shastras and the acharyas are making for our benefit. They're just explaining how karma works. They're saying prarabdha karma in this context. Prarabdha karma can mean other things in different contexts. Like in Nectar Devotion, where it talks about aprarabdha and prarabdha karma, that's speaking, more generally. And prarabdha karma there means any future reaction. But here, the way this distinction is working, it's saying prarabdha karma is karma that will happen in the future, but it's not, in the next life. And sanchita karma is that karma which happens in the future, but it really determines our next life. It's like I'm born as a man. Now I can make my life Krishna conscious and become a devotee, but I really can't become a woman, right? Because that's sanchita karma. It's fixed already. If I have some, ailment, some problem, that's prarabdha karma. I can even change that. I can work very hard, go to the doctors, fix my disease and fix that. So that's like prarabdha karma. It's very difficult to change, but you may even be able to change it. But sanchita karma are things that we really cannot change. Our past karma makes us be there, but then our choices, we can make the best of the bad bargain, right? Okay, I'm born with this thing, but I can't change that, but I can change everything else about my life where that doesn't matter. Because I'm such a nice devotee of Krishna, I can try to become such a nice devotee of Krishna that whatever limitation is there doesn't bother me or doesn't limit me.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Prabhuji.
Yes. And for the devotees here, Lalita Pran Mataji just got initiation, and congratulations to her. She's one of the Bhakti Shastri devotees here, and she got initiation last week.
Last Sunday.
Last Sunday, and is now Lalita Pran Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. All because of your, we are from, groomed by your Bhakti Vriksha, by you and Mataji. And we definitely missed you both for the event.
Well,
we were groomed only by you and Mataji.
No, we were.
For the last 3 years. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, and thank you for being so nice and inspiring in your spiritual life. We are actually fortunate to be in your association, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vijay Nrsimha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for this class. We missed you in Baltimore last week.
Yes.
But so my question was on the same lines as Om's. So we've established that our desire and what we deserve determines our next life. So if we come as a pigeon, the life after that, that path is already set what the next 100 life cycles would be, or our desire as a pigeon will determine what we come as in the next lifetime?
Yes, Prabhu. So it depends. Just like Bharat Maharaj, he was a great devotee of the Lord. He had the desire to, be attached to the deer. So he comes as a deer, but then that's the only, small desire yet. So in his next life, he comes back as a devotee in a human form of life. For someone else who is, engaged in this material life, they may become a pigeon, and then they have to work their way up back to the human form of life. Because generally speaking, as an animal in this cycle, we automatically, the soul works its way back up to human to elevate the consciousness back to the human consciousness. So Darwin talked about the gradation of species, right? So it is actually true that that's a gradation of species, that once you are in a lower form of life, you gradually elevate to higher and higher levels of consciousness back to a human form of life. So under normal circumstances, for materialists, if we may say, they go through the whole cycle. But if there's a spiritual, practice in the previous life, one may just have 1 or 2 lifetimes and come back to the human form. It doesn't have to be the whole, thing. But there's every chance, and that's why Krishna says, Trayate Mahato Bhayat. And Prabhupada explains, what is this great fear he's talking about? What is this great fear that he says to have to go back through that cycle, which means 1,000,000 lifetimes. That's a great fear. If it was just one life, why would he say a great fear? Okay, I became a deer for one life and now I'm back. Because there's the chance that we may have to go through that cycle. Yes. From where we start, working our way back up.
Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, everyone, so much for your very wonderful attention. And we've completed chapter 15. So please continue doing the homework and the reading. Don't forget to catch up if you're a little behind. And thank you for your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.